All right, what's up, y'all? I want to do a little video about why people like to draft. Um, when I first started drafting, my very first paper draft ever was like a little bit over 2 years ago, and I got wrecked. It was my first time drafting. I had never drafted the set, had never drafted at all, and so I just went to a Friday Night Magic. And yeah, I got matched up against people that have been drafting for years. My very first round was against a friend of mine. He's become a friend now from playing Friday Night Magic. He's been drafting since the '90s. I mean, I had zero chance of winning. I went like 0-3 for the night, but I had fun. I met some new people. I got out of the house. I got to play some Magic. I had a good time. A couple months ago, I was at my LG net. That's my Friday night activity. Almost every Friday night, I go to my LGS and I play Magic with my friends, and we draft. And a couple months ago, I saw a new guy. I was chatting with him a little bit before the draft started, and he's like, "Yeah, first draft ever. I normally play Commander." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I tried to give him a few tips. I sat next to him and tried to, once we drafted and he was building his deck, I took a look at his deck for him, and just try to be friendly and welcoming, and because draft can be challenging, especially if you're new. And he kind of had a similar experience to me. He ended up going 0-3 that night. He did not win a single game. I chatted with him afterwards. He's like, "Yeah, I got smoked, man. Like, I got smoked. I did not win a single game." But he had fun. He had fun, and he has come back. He's been there pretty much every Friday night since. It's been at least 2 or 3 months since he started, and it was great seeing somebody that got hooked, just like I did. They got hooked on drafting, and now I don't know if they've ever gone 3-0, but they usually get at least 1 or 2 wins, and so he's become a friend. So that leads me to the point of this video, is like, why do people like drafting? Drafting is challenging. If you don't know the set, if you don't have much experience drafting, you can just get beat up. But there's a ton of people out there like me that love the draft, and that's their favorite format. So it's like, why? If you've not drafted, or you've only run 1 or 2 drafts like on Arena, and you just get smoked every time, and you're like, screw this. Well, the fact that draft is challenging is part of the reason that people like it. Every draft is different. Every decision, especially early in the packs, matters. One decision can take your deck from one course, completely off onto a different tangent. um, for example, like if you see a signpost on common in a color pair that you like, early in pack one, you're like, geez, I like playing that color pair and it looks open. I'm going to just like totally pivot and just, head that way. And then your deck building skills really come into play. And so the fact that it's challenging makes it fun. The fact that it's different every time keeps it interesting. Every time a new set comes out in a couple, 2, 3 months, it used to be 3 months, now it's like 2 months, but every time a new set comes out, it's just a new puzzle to dive into and start trying to figure out, what are the good archetypes, what are the good cards. You get to experiment and play around and figure things out, and so it keeps it interesting. Probably my number one point is would be, go to your LGS and draft in person. If you like drafting, if you've done some arena drafts, go to the LGS and do it in person. That's my, I love Friday night. Go out, hang out with the friends, see everybody. You get, you see the same people pretty regularly usually on Friday night drafts. So, I've made a lot of friends over the last couple years from that Friday night draft group. And there's been times I've thought, geez, maybe I should go to a different game store and just meet new people there and play there. And I never have, because at this point I want to see my buddies. I want to see my friends. I know the people. We have a good time. And then my kind of final reason I would throw out there why draft is fun, and this ties into the fact, like I said before, draft is challenging. Draft is interesting because every draft is different. And sometimes you have what I call a train wreck draft, where your deck just does not come together and it's super mediocre, and you're like, geez, I don't like, do I have to play this deck? Can I just leave or what? This deck sucks. But there are times when you open like a bomb rare, and then you jump into a color pair, you read the signals, you find that open lane, and your colors are open, and you open pack 2 and there's a good rare that also can go in your deck. You open pack 3 and that rare can go in your deck. You're like, whoa, what the heck? Because a lot of times you open pack 1 and you get a cool rare in like white, and then you go into, let's say, white green, and then pack 2 it's like a blue black rare or something that just does not go in your deck, and then you open your third pack and that rare is just like a bulk rare that's like trash that you don't even want to play. So sometimes your deck doesn't come together, but when your deck does come together, every now and then it's like the magic gods smile upon you. Your lane is open, or you've identified the open lane and jumped into it, and you're getting past like sweet cards for your deck, and you're just like, man, this is great. And you draft like an awesome deck that's functional. You've got the bombs, you've got the card draw, you've got the removal, everything's going your way, and then you play the games and you just wreck people. It feels so good when you actually have that 1 in 10 draft or whatever, that your deck is just awesome and you're loving it, and your deck is taking care of you. You draw that land when you need it, you draw that removal spell when you need it, and you're just off to the races having a great time. And so if you're thinking about getting into drafting, I would encourage you, as I said, to go to your in-person draft if you have a game store nearby. I love drafting on Arena for those same reasons that I mentioned before. Arena drafts are great, but you don't get that social interaction that you do if you go in person. If you've done 1 or 2 drafts and you just, like I said, you drafted kind of a mediocre deck and you didn't have fun, you didn't win hardly any games, that's just the learning curve. I would encourage you to give it another shot. And my biggest tip, if you're trying to learn draft, you're like, hey, I see that it could be fun, but I always get smoked and I don't want to spend my money or my resources or my time into this, is before you pay like 1,500 gems to do a draft, go on YouTube, watch some of the streamers out there, like and subscribe my video, of course, but watch some of them of the set that you want to draft. So whatever the current set is the one that Arena is going to be promoting. And so go watch a few drafts and see what the good archetypes are. The more you know about a particular set, the better off you're going to be. Because when you're new to draft and you're sitting there trying to read every single card of every single pack, you're going to get overwhelmed. You want to kind of know, like, okay, if I'm playing blue, this is one of the best commons in the set. This is one of the best uncommons in the set. If you're playing white, what colors pair the best with white? In any set, there's typically, maybe white green is the best, or white black is the best, or white blue is the best for that set. So if you know some of that going in and you've already watched some drafts of that set, you kind of know the synergies, you're going to be way ahead of the game and you're going to have more luck. And then one final tip, I'll wrap it up with this, is, if you are a beginner drafter and you're new to drafting, my number one tip to have a good time drafting is don't focus on win-loss records, like, at all. Winning is more fun than losing. I mean, it's just part of the game, right? But when you're new, you might get faced up against somebody that's very experienced. So especially if you're going to an LGS, you could be sitting across from somebody like me who's done like hundreds of drafts. I've done hundreds of drafts between Arena and in person. That's my Friday night activity. I draft all the time, so it's part of what I do. And so, just like my first draft, I got paired up with somebody that's been drafting for 30 years. It's like if I would not have had a good time if I was just worried about win-loss record. Focus on learning the set, how to build a functional deck, how to build a deck that works, that has a decent mana curve and has some removal. And then just think about trying to improve and have a good time, battle it out, win or lose. I enjoy a good back and forth battle. It's fun, like, especially if you're playing an aggro deck and you just like curve out super fast and run your opponent over and kill him real quick, and you're like, yeah, I got you. That's pretty fun. But to me, a good battle where both decks kind of get their game plan going and you battle it out and it's back and forth and you don't know who's going to win, those are more interesting to me than just one person getting mana screwed and getting run over or something, right? So, all right. Well, I hope that you enjoy drafting as much as I do. If you got any questions, if you're new to draft or first time drafter and you're thinking about giving it a shot, hey, shoot me a comment, ask a question. I'd be happy to help you. So, all right, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm trying to hit my first 100 subscribers. So I would appreciate it. All right, take care.